10. Stand by.
Trooper Steve's over here. He's wearing shorts. There he is.
Shorts.
And now it's NC-17. All right, welcome to News 6 Extra. I'm Christopher Heath. That was Trooper Steve's leg. And hey, it's Tuesday, September the 16th. An important day, Kathleen. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh my gosh, it's such an important day. It is your birthday.
It's my birthday. I'm finally 29 years old.
Really?
Big
Well,
2-9.
Hey, you got to celebrate. You got to celebrate.
Thank you. Listen, everybody here was very kind. I got a card this morning. There are baked goods up on the desk. So Thank you to everyone. It was very kind of you to remember my birthday. Although, as my wife will tell you, I am not a fun person on my birthday. It's a birthday.
But so you're not a big birthday person.
I'm not, but I am counting down the days before I am eligible to go live in the villages. That sounds that's right up. You'll know when that happens too, because you'll be joining me remotely from my home in the villages for News 6 Extra. And you'll be like, Chris joins us remotely from his home studio. And I'll be like, yes, here are the villages.
Well, I'm not that far behind you. So, maybe we'll just take this on the road and go to the villages,
It could get dangerous because happy hour starts at 11 a.m. in the villages. The show's at 12:30, so a bit of a race with the devil there. But
that is true. That may be dangerous.
So,
but happy birthday.
Thank you so much. And, as they always say, at least you get to celebrate. You get one more, and that you should be thankful for. So I am thankful for my birthday, and I am very happy to welcome in David Nazario, who I'm sure would also love to heap praise on the host of this fine program for his birthday. Right, David?
Oh, 150%, Chris. The happiest of birthdays to you, sir. It's great to hear that.
I love exerting my power to force people to be nice to me. It is the absolute height of self-centeredness, and that's what I embody. So anyway, David, I got to tell you, the weather the last couple of days, probably in honor of my birthday, has been fantastic. But I did hear a nasty rumor that the humidity is returning.
It is. I was actually just going to ask you if you are more of a fall or a summer type of guy, because I may have good news or not so good news in the forecast today.
I don't dislike summer so much as the absolute humidity of when, like, you go outside and you just do anything and you're just like, I walk the dogs in the morning and it's always before the sun comes up. So it shouldn't be that insane, but there's a lot of days where, like, even at 5 a.m., I'm walking the dogs and I get done and I feel like I need to go get a shower. I literally just walked the block with 2 dogs and I need to go get a shower, that much. So that's the biggest beef I have. But other than that, fine. So anyway, okay, so what are we looking at? What do we got cooking this week?
Yeah, so I'll take you outside right now. Let's get a look at the radar currently. So it's going to remain fairly quiet today and much of tomorrow. We still have some leftover dry air in our neighborhood, but when we switch over to the water vapor, one thing I want to point out to our viewers, especially if you keep up with us through the weekend and at the start of your week, is the upper low that was originally down here has now started to make its trek towards the northeast. You can still see some drier air building in on the back side of it. But alongside the dry air, notice we're starting to see more wispy bands of it as moisture from the tropics builds in alongside it as well. And that's precisely the transition that we're expecting to take place as we go through tomorrow and then especially Thursday and there on in. That's going to be the big thing. The pivotal point in time is Wednesday night into your Thursday. For today, however, temperatures outside are looking fairly good. We're in the low to mid 80s across the board, and we're not expected to climb too much higher than that. If you notice, Orlando might be able to squeak into that 90-degree threshold. The same thing with Ocala and Gainesville. The rest of us should be fairly comfortable. Notice we've kind of flipped the script as well. Over the weekend and into yesterday, it was our western counties, our western viewers who were a little cooler than most. Now it's more so the East Coast. And thankfully, when you factor in the humidity for this afternoon's high temperature, not going to be as blistery or as saturated or just overall sweaty out there, for lack of a better term, which is always good news. When you look at the heat index for today, you are slowly starting to see that little bit of a rebound. And I do think tomorrow, and especially through Thursday and Friday, we're going to start to see a return of a bit of a more summer like local weather pattern as opposed to what we've been seeing the last several days. When you look at the temperature outlook from Climate Prediction Center, you don't see too much on the 30-day outlook. We're looking at pretty much average conditions as we go over the next 30 days. So I should say taking us all the way through to this time in November. But it's when you take a look at the 4 to 16 day, or I should say the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook, that's when you start to notice we begin to trend back towards above average temperatures. There it is. Notice a night and day difference, all the shades of orange and red really beginning to rebound once again. So for your afternoon forecast for today, and again, much of tomorrow, you can more or less copy and paste what we've seen the last several days. Some stray showers possible, some pop-off stuff during what would be the warmest part of the afternoon, but overall, partly to mostly cloudy skies for a large majority of us as we go through the day today. And I'll walk you through exactly what that looks like. It's going to be very repetitive in comparison to what we saw the last couple of days. So right about now, we've got some clouds beginning to build in. By 1, 2 o'clock, maybe some straggling showers trying to bubble up. It's very interesting. If you have any kind of radar source on your phone or something you can quickly pop up, you'll notice because of the dry air in the environment, most of these showers and rogue thunderstorms that do try to get going, they tend to hug the bodies of water in the state of Florida. That's because we just don't have enough oomph in the atmosphere in the moisture department. As soon as these things try to gain a little bit of that tallness, that vertical extent as they rise up. Then as we fast forward to about 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, notice very similar to what we saw yesterday, maybe a little bit of winds coming together. We call that low-level convergence in the form of a weak sea breeze, maybe tries to ignite some stuff for Orange, Osceola, Brevard, trying to get as far north as Seminole and Volusia County, some straggling showers trying to walk through northern Polk County, but then very quickly, due to a lack of really good lifting and forcing, we see them wash out as we go just around sunset time, and that's going to be what we're expecting for much of tomorrow as well. Then from there, I want you to notice what the Euro does. This is going to be our future clouds and rain going over the next couple days. Notice that moisture is fairly scarce, so we get some afternoon stuff, especially through the day on Wednesday. But then watch as we go through Thursday. Fast forward the clock. See how we're starting to see a lot more of the greens and especially the yellows building in from the south. Since we're losing that upper low and the trough that dropped it over us to begin with, we're going to have to fill in the gap somehow, and that's going to come from our neighbors down in the Caribbean. All that maritime tropical air is going to surge to the north, and because of that, Climate Prediction Center has us back in above average temperatures and above average chances for rainfall. And speaking of the tropics, starting to look a little more like peak season out there. Now, we have one area of interest given a 90-90 split over the next 2 to 7 days. I do think we see development of this feature, Invest 92L, within the next 24 to 36 hours. It's getting that look, as we like to say. And then we have another tropical wave that was recently highlighted, but personally and professionally, I'm kind of wondering why National Hurricane Center stamped this one. It looks to be kind of erased by the dry air dump that's expected to come down behind Invest 92L here very soon. I put out a video over on clickorlando.com and our YouTube channel if you at home want to find out a little more information on what I mean by a dry air dump. Now, taking a look at Invest 92L, putting it under the microscope with our infrared satellite, you can see it's got really good outflow. Notice those feathery bands of clouds extending away from it now on the north, east, and the west side. That would suggest we have really good vertical motion lift towards where that low pressure center is, that red L with the spinning arrows counterclockwise around it. So it is continuing to organize. It's a very broad system. So even though it's got dry air on either side of it, we have the size actually working for us. And And when you take a look at our computer models and you fast forward through time, there is great agreement. This has the potential of becoming a hurricane over the next 7 to 10 days. And then, as you can see as well, down in that main development region of the deep tropical Atlantic, we're watching a wave back behind our current area of interest. So that's going to definitely keep us on our toes. It is still the peak of the hurricane season, even though it hasn't been quite behaving as such. Next name on the list is Gabrielle, and then I'm fairly confident as things improve out there across the Atlantic, Umberto is the next name behind Gabrielle. That could definitely enter the fray before we close out the month of September, maybe a few after that as well. Now, finally, as we close out, here's a look at your 7-day forecast. You can see rain chances are going to stay fairly low between today and tomorrow. And then as we rock through Thursday and into the weekend, might want to bump up those rain chances for Saturday and especially Sunday, because I'm tracking something out there, not necessarily fully bona fide tropical, but a mixture of just moisture and energy coming up from our south that may get a little interesting as we go through this upcoming weekend, Chris.
Maybe it's because you and I share a common wall, and I get to hear you when you're correcting various people on these storms and their formation chances. 92L, I've seen a lot of people, and again, it's all on social media, so take that with a grain of salt, but are going full freak out mode, like, oh my God, it's coming to kill us all. And I know, talking to both you and talking to Jonathan Kagas and talking to Candace, there's kind of a wait and see, but it definitely looks like it's going to get pulled up into the Atlantic. So much ado about nothing, at least right now.
Exactly, yeah. And that's kind of why it almost feels like hurricane season hasn't really been hurricane season. We've had lots of dead periods out there, and then when one or two things try to get going, we've had a lot of what are called upper-level cold pockets over the central Atlantic. So what they'll do is, as the waves try to move west, they'll tug them north and then yank them up and out to sea. And that's why for us in Central Florida and the rest of the United States, we don't even realize anything's going on because they just don't make it that far west. At least none of them have yet, knock on wood, here in the office.
Well, it makes the water a little choppy, but other than that, gives us something to talk about. All right, David, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Staying here locally, one of the things we were following, obviously, late yesterday, overnight, and then into today, is the murder of Edgewater police officer David Jewell. Officer Jewell had stopped at a Circle K at Ormond by the Sea, had gone inside to get a hot dog. Somebody came in behind him, pulled out a gun, and shot him. And a couple of minutes ago, we got surveillance video by the Volusia County Sheriff Mike Chitwood. Obviously, we're stopping the video before anything is graphically shown on TV, but this is what happened yesterday in Ormond by the Sea. Now, as we're getting more details about the suspect in the shooting, as well as the police officer David Jewell, we're putting together a little bit more about what other officers had to say about Officer Jewell and how they're remembering him today and where this all stands. Angie Casada has the story.
Forever EP 698. Those words now honor Officer David Jewell. He wore the Edgewater police uniform for 2 years after serving with the Volusia Sheriff's Office Communications Center and Lake Helen Police. But his department says his greatest role was as a husband and father.
David was a guy that you could rely on for anything. You'd never hear a bad thing about him, and he's going to be a tremendous loss, not only for the police department, but also life in general. For
Edgewater Mayor Diesel Depew, the loss goes beyond the badge.
Well, this is such a tremendous loss to the community. Our residents really can't believe it. It's a tragedy what occurred, and the guy should be fully punished to the fullest extent of the law. What a horrible individual to do this to such a nice gentleman. The thing I heard over and over again in the community is what a kind-hearted individual he was.
Carl Hauserman lives near the gas station, and like many here, he saw the flashing lights and crime tape marking what is now a crime scene.
It's kind of scary. It happens right, 100 feet away. It can happen anywhere, though, but when it's in your front yard.
Meanwhile, others brought flowers, creating a memorial in Officer Jewell's honor.
They risk their lives every day, and to Mrs. Jewell and his children, I can't even imagine the heartbreak that they're experiencing, but I wanted to leave them a little something to let them know that their neighbors and friends in Ormond by the Sea, our hearts are breaking with theirs.
Edgewater police call Jewel kind, selfless, and always a light in dark times. His vehicle is now parked outside the department, a place for people to stop, reflect, and pay tribute. Officer Jewel's department says they'll be sharing ways to support his family in the coming hours. Of course, we'll keep you updated on air and over on clickorlando.com. Reporting in Ormond by the Sea, I'm your Volusia County community correspondent Angie Casada, News 6.
And of course, Molly Reed is up there as well, gathering more information. She'll be joined by Mike Valenti later today, and Ginger Gadsden will all be up there to continue our coverage of this very tragic death in Ormond by the Sea of Edgewater police officer David Jewell. The suspect in the assassination of conservative commentator Charlie Kirk is in court. It will be in court here in just a matter of hours. 22-year-old Tyler Robinson is expected to appear before the judge. He is the suspect arrested by Utah law enforcement as well as the FBI in connection with the death of Charlie Kirk. CBS's Carter Evans explains exactly what we can expect today.
There was evidence, DNA evidence.
FBI Director Kash Patel said Monday DNA evidence found on a screwdriver at the scene of the shooting and on a towel wrapped around the alleged murder weapon had now been linked to the suspect. Patel added his agency is reviewing the alleged gunman's online activity and cell phone data.
He had a text message exchange, he the suspect, with another individual, in which he claimed that he had an opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk and he was going to do it because of his hatred for what Charlie stood for.
Why didn't that person say something?
Our investigation is ongoing. That's a great question.
A Discord spokesman and two law enforcement sources told CBS News an account appearing to belong to the suspect claimed responsibility for the shooting in a group chat around 2 hours before his arrest last Thursday, writing in part, quote, "It was me at UVU yesterday. I'm sorry for all this." The messages were first reported by the Washington Post. Discord has said it hasn't found any evidence that the suspect planned Kirk's assassination on the platform. While no motive has been identified, the FBI director said the suspect's family and friends told investigators he subscribed to a left-wing ideology.
We have to talk about this incredibly destructive movement of left-wing extremism that has grown up over the last few years, and I believe is part of the reason why Charlie was killed by an assassin's bullet.
Hosting his friend's podcast late Monday, Vice President J.D. Vance vowed to prevent what he called festering violence on the far left. And appearing as a guest, President Trump's Deputy Chief of Staff, Stephen Miller, argued Kirk's death was the result of an organized campaign of terrorist networks, though he offered no evidence to support that claim.
We are going to use every resource we have at the Department of Justice, Homeland Security, and throughout this government to identify, disrupt, dismantle, and destroy these networks and make America safe again for the American people.
For now, investigators say the suspected shooter is believed to have acted alone. We expect to learn more today in court. Carter Evans, CBS News, Provo, Utah.
And of course, more information will come out in court. I would say, take what you read, as we were discussing with our good friend 92L, the Invest, that we're keeping an eye on. Take what you read on social media, especially from people who are speculating, pontificating with an enormous grain of salt. Anyway, we'll be right back. All right, welcome back to News 6 Extra. It is Tuesday, September the 16th. Electric vehicles are becoming, they're everywhere. I mean, just about every car company out there is rolling out an electric vehicle. There was a couple years ago in the Super Bowl where just about every single ad that aired in the first quarter was some car company rolling out a brand new EV. A lot of this is spurred by the fact that battery technology has gotten a lot better. A lot of the infrastructure for charging vehicles has gotten better. The range has gotten better on a lot of these vehicles. And, when you can buy electricity for far less than you can pay for gasoline, it makes sense. Now, to be fair, a lot of the tax credits that help spur electric vehicles are disappearing at the end of this month. But even still, electric vehicles are expanding their footprint. But how safe are they? As Chris Van Cleve breaks down the results of a research by the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, several of these electric vehicles are put to the test, with some getting less than stellar results.
In tests simulating a crash between vehicles traveling in opposite directions at 40 miles an hour, 4 of the 7 vehicles tested, the BMW i4, Chevy Blazer EV, Tesla Cybertruck, and Volkswagen ID Buzz, earned good ratings. The Tesla Model 3 earned a passing acceptable, but 2 have room to improve. The Nissan Ariya SUV rated marginal because the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety injury metrics showed a high risk of chest injuries to backseat passengers. And the Ford F-150 Lightning earned the lowest score, a poor rating, because the rear-seated dummy showed a high risk of chest, head, or neck injuries, and that dummy's lap belt moved from the ideal position on the pelvis onto the abdomen.
That is not something we want to see in any crash.
IIHS Vice President Raul Arbelais.
The common sensibility is a big vehicle like a full-size pickup should do well in a crash.
Most people think bigger is better, heavier is better, and certainly we had that with the Ford F-150 Lightning. The vehicle structurally holds up really well in this crash, but fell short in protecting the rear seat position.
IIHS also looked at pedestrian crash avoidance technology, and most performed well. The BMW, Ford, and Tesla models all scored top marks, joining the Ariya with good ratings. When it came to headlights, 5 of the 7 earned acceptable ratings, but both the BMW sedan and the Cybertruck had some lights earning a poor rating. Automakers, including Nissan, say they are evaluating the results and will continue to work with IIHS in all matters related to customer safety. Ford adds safety is a top priority. We are always working to continuously improve. Chris Van Cleve, CBS News, Los Angeles.
One of the things that you can go check out is you can go look at some of the IIHS safety videos from several years ago. And you don't have to go that far back, and you can look at like cars from like the early 2000s versus now, and how much safer they are, and how much safer the cars in the early 2000s were versus the ones that, let's say, my parents were driving when I was a kid in the 80s and 90s. Car technology has improved by leaps and bounds, and that's why we've seen the number of deaths on our roadways go down year after year, is because cars are safer than they've ever been, and that's a good thing. But there's always room for improvement. All right, to quote Leonard Skinner, "Ooh, that smell! Can you smell that smell?" That's the headline for Catherine Silver's latest piece on Sanford, where residents have reported a bit of a stink in recent days. Catherine went to go find the source of the foul aroma.
You smell it right now.
The breeze that Antonio Echeverria begs for on a summer day can also send an unpleasant stench to his street.
That smell, it's terrible.
It's so bad, some days the smell is unavoidable.
Do you think it's getting worse?
It's getting worse. From 1 to 10, 9.5. Serious.
He says it's seriously sickening.
It can make you sick on the stomach.
Rotten.
Kind of off-putting.
Like raw sewage.
It's like raw wet.
You can smell it from like a mile or 2 down the road.
The complaints come from around downtown Sanford, depending on which way the wind is blowing.
Where do you think it's coming from?
That I do not know.
What is the answer?
I think a lot of it's coming from the sewage treatment plant.
Mayor Art Woodruff tells us the city is aware of the problem.
We've got 2 odor control units that are supposed to be working there. One of them was just replaced. There's also one other place, it's called the solar dryer. It's supposed to take the last of the moisture out, and that system also is not working. Our contractor will be on site October 6th to start repairs on that.
So this is a symptom of equipment not working the way it's supposed to.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a equipment failure.
Are you hopeful this will fix the smell? People say it's been years that there's been a smell here.
Well, and there's always going to be some odor coming from a sewage treatment plant. We can control it, and we need to do a better job of that and be more proactive with the maintenance, which we are starting to do.
Echevarria just moved here from New Jersey with his wife.
I'm telling you, if I would have known this, never would have bought the house here.
This home is their dream, their retirement.
There's no way that you're going to smell that every time you come out of the house.
And it reeks.
I'm old, 76 years old. I don't want this.
In Sanford, Catherine Silver, News 6.
You know, this is one of those moments, Kathleen, where the great medium of television does not do a story justice. And maybe that's a good thing. Listen, we don't need smell-o-vision where we encourage viewers to come to their screen and maybe get a little, that's,
No, I'll pass on that. I'll pass.
Years ago, I had to cover a stinky lake in Paris, Texas, and it was because the Campbell's soup plant up there, they would boil all their vegetables and then they would spray the water into leaching fields. There's nothing wrong with the water, but when you boil, 3 tons of onions and 2 tons of carrots and celery, the water's fine. There's nothing wrong with the water. It just has, picks up some of that smell. And so they spray into these giant fields and the water would go in, but it would drain into the lake. And every once in a while, the weather would get just right and the breeze would hit and people just complained. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm sure. I had a better experience. Downtown Jacksonville, there's a Maxwell House factory. So if you went down there on Saturday mornings when it was pretty calm, you could just smell coffee.
That's a nice one. It's like there used to be a Mrs. Baird's plant near where I was in Texas, and it was right across the street from the Miller Lite, or the Miller, I guess, brewing company, because they both use, basically the same ingredients. And every once in a while, you catch a, whiff of that. And it's like, bread or beer or both, all very carb related. Okay, I'm going to read the copy directly here. 45 days away from Halloween, 72 from Thanksgiving, and 100 from Christmas, which means the U.S. Postal Service is officially kicking off its 113th annual. There it is.
Hi, boys and girls.
Operation Santa.
Right around the corner, and we're hard at work in Santa's work.
There it is. The post office, for the 113th year in a row, is delivering letters to Santa Claus. Letters must be postmarked by the 6th. If you're wondering what Santa Claus's address is, it is 123 Elf Road, North Pole, zip code 88888. If you're interested, the Postal Service will deliver your letter. They go to Santa Claus or one of his locally housed elves somewhere here in the United States who will review the letter and help the big guy make some decisions. I like this. I remember vividly as a kid, we would go, there was a Macy's at the Galleria in Texas, in Dallas, and you go there and they had this giant, post office box. It was red and you could put your letter in there. And I know the other thing that's good to do here in Central Florida is you can postmark them from Disney as well. If you can go to Magic Kingdom, you can postmark them there as well and send them off to the North Pole. So those are always fun things to do for the kids.
I always hear of people getting postmarks from Christmas. The town of Christmas when they send out their Christmas cards. So I didn't know about Disney though. That's interesting.
They're on the east side of Orange County. Pop out there by Bithlo. Go to Christmas. Go send your letters from Christmas, the North Pole. Yes, very nice. My kids are kind of getting to the age where I don't know if they're going to be writing letters to Santa Claus. I think I'm the only man with a beard that'll be bringing them gifts this year.
Well, I'm sure they still ask for stuff. They still have lists, I'm sure.
Oh, no, that will not. Yeah, no, that's never going to stop. No. But it's, what they're asking for is as they've aged, it's become a lot more video game centric and less of like, slimy things or things that, although Ben, my youngest, probably, if I could get him plutonium, he'd probably go for that. Not saying future supervillain, but it's on the bingo card.
Oh, my goodness.
So, anyway. All right, Kathleen, thank you, as always, for putting together a fantastic show. Thank you again for the warm birthday wishes. It's very nice to feel appreciated. So, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Have a good birthday.
I will. Thank you. And thank you for watching. I won't be here tomorrow. We will have somebody else in this role to do a far better job than I could. But I will be back on Thursday to regain the reins of News 6 Extra. But the show will go on tomorrow at 12:30 still. Although somebody else will be here. Just wait and see on that. Anyway, we do, of course, break news all the time on clickorlando.com. And we will be on the air today starting at 4 o'clock with the very latest on the officer shot up in Volusia County. So from between now and then, I hope to see you tomorrow or day after tomorrow. But thank you again for watching.